When a store manager looks at you and says, "We are calling the police," almost every person does the same thing in that moment. They freeze because those words carry a specific kind of weight. They sound like an escalation that cannot be undone. They sound like the situation has crossed a line and now something serious is about to happen. And in that frozen moment, most people either panic and leave in a way that looks suspicious, or they stay and say things they never should have said, trying to talk their way out of a situation they do not fully understand. Here is what almost nobody knows. The threat of calling the police and the arrival of the police are two completely different situations with two completely different sets of rights attached to them. And the window between the threat and the arrival is the most legally significant window in the entire encounter. What you do in that window determines whether this situation resolves cleanly or becomes something much more complicated. The manager saying those words is not a verdict. It is a pressure tactic. And like every pressure tactic we have covered on this channel, it works because most people do not know what it actually means or what their rights are in the moment it is used. Today, I am going to show you exactly what is happening when that threat lands, what your rights are in the window before anyone dials, what changes the moment an officer actually arrives, and the exact words you say before a single call is made. Words that put the situation on the record, protect your legal position, and change the cost-benefit calculation for the store before the first digit is dialed. Hit subscribe right now because this channel exists to give you knowledge that protects you before you need it. Share this with one person before this video ends. Someone who would freeze at those words because nobody ever told them what those words actually mean legally. Here's the reality most people are never taught. A retail manager threatening to call the police has no independent legal authority over you. They are not law enforcement. They are an employee of a private business. Their ability to detain you in that moment is governed by the same shopkeeper's privilege we have covered before. To briefly detain you, they must have specific, articulable, reasonable grounds to believe you have shoplifted. A dispute over a refund, a disagreement about policy, a complaint about service, or any other ordinary retail conflict does not meet that threshold. The threat to call police is used in retail conflicts for one purpose. It is designed to make you feel that the situation has become serious enough that you need to comply, apologize, or leave immediately. Each of those reactions serves the store's interest, not yours. Compliance without understanding what you are agreeing to can waive rights you should be exercising. Apologizing can be interpreted as an acknowledgement of wrongdoing. Leaving quickly can be characterized as flight. None of those outcomes is required, and none of them is in your interest. Here is what the bad way looks like. Customer is in a dispute with a manager about a return. The manager says, "We are calling the police if you do not leave right now." Customer panics, gathers their things quickly, walks out fast, head down, without saying anything, drives away. The manager's security footage now shows a customer who left quickly after being told police were being called. Whatever the underlying dispute was, the customer's exit looks like the exit of someone who knew they were in the wrong. If the situation develops further, that footage and that characterization become part of whatever record exists. The customer had done nothing wrong. They simply did not know what to do when those words landed. Here is what the good way looks like. Same dispute, same manager, same threat. Before the customer moves a single step, they say this calmly and clearly. "I understand you are going to call the police. I want to be clear for the record that I have not stolen anything, I have not been accused of theft, and I am here disputing a refusal of a legitimate return. I will remain here calmly and speak with the officer when they arrive. Please go ahead and make the call." That is the complete response. 2 sentences, calm voice, no panic, no apology, no quick exit. Here is what those 2 sentences do. They put your position on the record before the call is made. They establish that you are not fleeing, which removes any characterization of your behavior as flight. They make clear that you are not the aggressor in this situation. They invite the police, rather than treating their arrival as a threat. And they shift the dynamic of the entire encounter, because a customer who calmly says, "Please go ahead and make the call," is a customer the manager now has to consider very carefully before actually making it. Managers who threaten to call police in retail disputes often have no intention of actually calling. The threat is the tool. When it stops working as a pressure tactic because the customer does not panic, the calculus changes. Drop a comment right now and tell me, have you ever been in a retail situation where someone threatened to call police and you either froze, left quickly, or started apologizing because you did not know what else to do? Yes or no? I want to know how many people have been caught in that freeze without knowing they had 2 sentences to say. If you are still here, hit the like button, because what comes next is what changes when the officer actually arrives, and why the words you said before the call was made matter so much in that moment. Here is what happens when the officer arrives and why your prior statement matters. When a police officer responds to a retail call, they are not automatically on the store's side. They are responding to a report, and they need to understand the situation. Their first job is to determine what actually happened. And the first person who has a clear, calm, documented account of what happened has a significant advantage in how that determination goes. When the officer arrives, you say this: "Officer, I am here because I was in a dispute with the store over a return they refused to process. I have not stolen anything. I have not been accused of theft by anyone. I remained here voluntarily when the manager said they were calling police because I have nothing to hide and I wanted to explain the situation directly. I have my receipt and I am happy to answer any questions." That statement does several things at once. It establishes the nature of the dispute as civil and commercial, not criminal. It makes clear you stayed voluntarily, which removes any suggestion of guilt. It offers cooperation rather than invoking refusal, because in a situation where no crime has occurred and you are the aggrieved party in a consumer dispute, cooperation with the officer serves your interest. And it provides context before the manager provides their version. You are not under arrest. The officer cannot compel you to stay if no crime has occurred, and the store cannot articulate reasonable grounds for detention under the shopkeeper's privilege. If the officer determines no crime took place and asks if you would like to continue your dispute through civil channels, you say yes, you have the documentation, and you will be pursuing your consumer rights through the appropriate channels. Let me tell you about Renee. Renee is 45 years old, lives in Virginia, and was in a dispute at a home goods store over a defective item the store refused to refund. The manager said he was calling the police if Renee did not leave the store. Renee left, quickly. She was embarrassed and frightened, and she had no idea what her rights were. She sat in her car for 20 minutes, shaking, feeling like she had done something wrong, even though she had not stolen a single thing. Later, speaking with a consumer rights attorney about a separate matter, Renee described what happened. The attorney told her 3 things. First, leaving quickly in response to a police threat can be characterized as behavior inconsistent with innocence in any subsequent record. Second, Renee had every right to remain and speak with the officer, who would have had no legal basis to take any action against her for disputing a refund. Third, the manager's threat was a pressure tactic with no legal weight behind it, designed specifically to produce the exit Renee gave them. Renee told the attorney she would have stayed if she had known what to say. The attorney told her the same thing I am telling you now. 2 sentences, said calmly before anyone dials, changed the entire dynamic of that encounter. Renee now knows the 2 sentences. After this video, so do you. 2 legal foundations make everything in this video exact. The shopkeeper's privilege permits retail employees to briefly detain a person when specific, articulable, reasonable grounds exist to believe that person has committed theft. A refund dispute, A disagreement about policy or an unhappy customer does not meet that standard. The manager has no lawful basis to physically detain you for a commercial dispute. Their only tool is the threat. Knowing the threat has no legal backing removes its power entirely. The Fourth Amendment and general principles of civil liberty establish that a person who has not committed a crime cannot be compelled by a private retail employee to leave a commercial space, provide a statement, or submit to any search or detention simply because an employee threatened to call law enforcement. The arrival of police does not change your underlying rights in a dispute where no crime has occurred. It adds a third party who can help clarify the situation, which in a legitimate consumer dispute is often in your favor. Here is the complete recap. We are calling the police as a pressure tactic, not a legal proceeding. The window between the threat and the arrival is yours. How you use it determines how the situation is characterized in any record that follows. The moment a manager says those words, before you move a single step, you say this: "I understand you are going to call the police. I want to be clear for the record that I have not stolen anything, I have not been accused of theft, and I am here disputing a refusal of a legitimate return. I will remain here calmly and speak with the officer when they arrive. Please go ahead and make the call." Then you stay, calmly, without apology, without quick exit. You wait, and when the officer arrives, you give them your clear, factual account of a consumer dispute before the manager gives theirs. Think about one person in your life right now, someone who would freeze at those words because they did not know they had something to say before anyone dialed. Share this video with them today, not later, right now before you close this tab. The two sentences you just learned take 10 seconds to say, and they protect your position in the most important window of the entire encounter. Next week, I am covering what happens when a debt collector calls you, what they are legally allowed to say, what they are absolutely prohibited from saying under the Fair Debt Collection Practices Act, and the one letter you send that stops all contact permanently. Subscribe so you catch it the day it drops. Hit the like button if those two sentences just changed how you will handle the next time someone in a retail situation uses that threat to try to end a dispute on their terms. Drop a comment telling me whether you knew before today that the threat to call police and the arrival of police are two completely different legal situations. I read every single comment. Know your rights, use them, stay safe.